All right, so we've come to the episode that I was looking forward to most from this season, if not from the whole show.
Mm.
So this is episode 6, The Price. Um, we'll talk about why this was an important episode to me when we get there. But for right now, let's talk about this new intro. We have a little prologue, and this is all new information
All
to
new.
us.
Yes.
So we are in Austin, Texas, 1983.
Yep.
This is, man, to talk about like the cycle of generational, like,
Issues.
yeah,
And yeah, especially parenting,
yeah,
like styles, and how everyone doesn't want to become their parents, but they kind of do in certain ways.
yeah, just kind of a more diluted, hopefully better version.
Yes.
You know, as someone who grew up with a mother that was not the greatest, you know, one of the things she would always try to cop out with when she did something terrible, she would always say something like, "You don't know how good you have it. My mother was so much worse to me." And while that may be true, and maybe she was a better version of her mother, she still wasn't a good person,
Yeah.
right? And somebody has to come along and break that cycle. And I think this sets this up very well. You know, me being a father now, I do catch myself in moments where I'm angry, and maybe I'm going a little too hard at my kids, and I really reflect on those moments, and I try my best to like think about that and change those things. And I do hope I'm teaching my kids a good lesson for the future,
Yeah.
so that if they have kids, they can just be a better version of you know, me or their mom. So this I think this should speak to anybody, pretty much in general, but especially anybody who's had a tough time with their parents. So this is a really wonderful addition here. And like you had said to me when we talked about this very briefly before we pressed record, um, but you know, I had made a comment about how, well, this shows, you know, Joel lying to his father, which you know, he of course becomes a trend with him. But you told me,
Well, yeah, it shows that he lies to protect people that he cares about.
right?
He's done that clearly his whole life, starting with Tommy. This is like the exact kind of thing, too, that we kind of talked about with last season. Like extra information in the show that we don't get from the games.
Yeah.
That is exciting for people who have played the game to like find. Like I never thought we were going to get a flashback to young Joel
No.
and Tommy, so it was very cool, and you can really see like that actor did a great job because you see Joel in him, like the way he's acting, and just the fact that he has always been somebody who wants to like protect those he cares about. And, you know, he's standing up to his dad and telling him that he's not going to hit Tommy and all this stuff. And that whole scene, everything that happens between him and his dad is so important. And, you know, there's a really wonderful, like, tie-in, obviously, like, at the end of the episode, where his dad is talking to him and saying, like, you know, my dad, like, broke my jaw and I had to have it, like, stitched, or what is it? Not stitched, but, like,
Wired shut.
yeah, wired shut for 2 months, and like everybody knew about it and everything. And he's like, but I've never done anything like that to you guys. Like maybe I've hit you a little too hard, but never like that.
Right.
You know, and then the phrase of like, I hope you'll be a little better than me, a little bit better than me, which Joel then, you know, says to Ellie at the end too.
Yeah.
Just really great stuff there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And there's another child coming.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that all plays out. And yeah, so then we go into the opening credits here. This is where we get Pedro Pascal back in the opening, as well as his little shadow figure alongside Ellie, which is just heartbreaking, of course.
Oh, no. I hate it.
Craig Mazin is usually the writer of most of these episodes, but this time we get the writers of the game coming in and Neil Druckmann himself directing the episode. So I could tell just from that alone that, you know, this was an episode that really, really meant a lot to them and was something they really wanted to get right. And I mean, as I'm sure you guys can guess, we think they did it beyond justice.
Yes.
And added to it.
Yes.
So, all right, our first bit of the timeline here, going up to the Jackson timeline, seems to be about 2 months after they get back from Salt Lake City. That because he says that he's a new guy and he's like, I've been here for 2 months. I can only imagine that means 2 months from the time they returned to stay.
Yes.
Right. Because I don't know how long after they came into Jackson and then went out to Salt Lake, how long they were gone before they came back. It would have to be at least a few weeks, right?
Yeah, I do think the timeline is like 2 months from when they come to stay.
The trip back would have been pretty quick because Joel takes a car.
Yes.
In a car, he could probably get there in a day.
Right. Well.
Right, but the trip
I
out
guess, yeah.
would take a lot longer.
Yes.
So it doesn't really matter, but 2-ish months after the end of season 1.
Yep.
He's there bartering. He finds some Legos. He trades him for a vanilla cake and a bone, which, you know, he's like, you have a bunch of these. You would think that's what he's asking for, right?
That's what I thought. Bone? Yeah, is the bone.
I don't know what kind of bone it is. I would think that Joel would be able to easily come across bones.
Maybe it needs to be a specific kind, like from a specific animal or something. Right. That's all I can think.
But they all hunt.
Yeah.
There's tons of human remains, obviously. There's tons of animal remains.
Yeah, so, there is.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. But I was just like, okay, I don't know why you need him for that specifically, but he gets it, and we see him put together the guitar that he is making for Ellie. Now, this is my guitar, and I have the moth here in between my frets, which I don't know. You probably can't tell, but I put that in there a long while ago, and I just wanted to share that really quick. So seeing him make it is very cool. You know, in the game, we see his little workshop, and we see that he is making guitars. But to see him actually like, now he says to her in that he fixed it up or like restored it. Yeah. So I don't think he built that one from scratch.
No, but he does a lot to it for sure.
He sure as hell does.
And also, just before we get too far away from it, we also find out that Seth used to be a police officer.
Yeah.
In like Milwaukee, I think he says. Which I just think is a good tie-in because Joel's father is a police officer, and like I really liked the look that he gives Seth when he finds that out, and I think it kind of also adds to when Joel like pushes him during the dance.
Yeah.
Like there's a bit of projection towards his dad there.
Sure.
And himself, which I think we'll talk about later, but the guitar looks wonderful. The whole montage of him, just carefully and like meticulously fixing it up, and it means a lot because it's something he wants to teach her. Like he wants to do it with her.
Yeah.
And that's like what he cares about the most, right? Like he ultimately he wants her to be happy, but he wants to do things together. He wants to be a family.
But it's not something that he's pushing on her.
Not at all.
Because she loves music.
Yes. And
right.
she's excited about it. She's not like, ugh, like great. Like she's definitely excited about it.
Yeah.
But it does just also add, like later when we see the guitar kind of like discarded a little, or not touched.
Oh, when it's on the ground,
right?
In
And
her
it's
room?
like he's like, oh, I just need to fix it up or whatever again. Like that hurts for sure.
It needs new strings.
Yeah, it needs new strings.
Did we mention? I don't know if we do because this is very important. But another addition here, actually, two technically, but there is the fact that the watch is his father's.
Oh no, we didn't mention that yet.
When he goes in to kiss him on the head, and after the "Do Better Than Me" scene, he leans in, and you can clearly see that that's Joel's watch that he wears. So he wears that for his father, which is cool to find that out.
Yes, that's really big.
And then his dad's name tag says J. Miller.
Right.
Which makes you wonder if
he's Joel Jr. or if it's James or John or
I don't know
what it could be. Yeah, I don't know either. But I do like that.
But maybe it doesn't. Does anything like that really matter? No, but it's cute little like things to know. Okay. This is then when Tommy brings in Ellie. She has burned her arm to hide her scars because she really wants to wear them short sleeves again.
Yeah.
This is where we get our baby girl line once again. We see she has an Aha tape. That's good to see because, she has to have heard these songs too. But it's a nice little nod to Take On Me that she plays for Dina. But yeah, seeing them happy as like a family, this is what's so devastating about this episode is we never really get to see this. This is the first time we get to see this because Ellie is in kind of a happy-go-lucky mood while Joel is still being the gruff, disconnected asshole who's just a smuggler, and it's like, you're not family, you're cargo, and all that stuff.
This is really when you're seeing him, like, embracing the father role and, like, leaning into it more, and he's happy.
Well, not only that, but what I'm saying is that by the time he fully accepts her as daughter, and is like, they have that scene in Salt Lake right before they get the bomb, the grenade that like knocks them out. It's like, he tells her basically like, it was you that fixed me. Up until that moment before the giraffes and all that stuff, after Ellie kills the leader of the cannibals, that's when Joel has his moment with her, and he's all happy with her, but she's all despondent and distant and everything.
Yeah.
And so and then by the time he takes her from Salt Lake and they're in the car and all that stuff, she's so out in her head. We never get to see them happy when we pick up together is what I mean, as like father and daughter. When we pick up in season 2 in the opening, they're already disconnected and distant from one another, right? So this is the very first time we ever really get to see them truly like father and daughter happy together,
and they
we get to see the downfall of that.
Yeah, they have a few years where things are good
Yeah.
Between them, which is really heartbreaking.
But
and
she always has this gnawing, nagging feeling in the back of her head that she's been lied to, and it's like, how long can I keep up this lie? Like, accepting this lie.
Yeah. Well, right? It's hard when you're lied to by somebody that you love.
Yeah.
And you know it's a lie. It's really hard to just kind of, like, move past it, even, you know, if you can rationalize it or anything.
Yeah.
But, yeah, like, her 15th birthday, it's great. The cake he brings out says...
Happy birthday, Eli.
Happy birthday, Eli. All that's really funny. And then we get to hear him sing, which was, like... just so emotional, so like just very tender and very like a vulnerable moment. Like Joel like lets his vulnerability show with Ellie, and that's not the case with like anybody else, right? Like he's so closed off, and it's taken him so long to be comfortable to do that with her in that way. So it's very extra heartbreaking, obviously, especially the song he sings, which is Future Days. Great job, and she says her little snarky like comment when he's finished, like that wasn't terrible.
Yeah, for me, I mean, the Joel side of things is great, and that was to be expected. This is something I had been expecting for a while, but for me, what was more emotional about it and what hit me harder was the way she was looking at him while he was playing.
Yeah.
Right, and it very much read as like, that's my father.
Oh yeah, there's this like, yeah, just they have such fantastic chemistry together, like in terms of like their on screen, like how they appear together. But yeah, that she like acts like such a little kid in this, which is to me so vastly different from how we've been seeing her too.
Oh sure.
I mean, she's not a little kid, but like just she's more, there's more innocence to her here.
Right.
And I think that Bella, I mean, she does a phenomenal job at Ellie in this whole episode. But you're right, like the way she looks at him is really fantastic there.
Watching your father beat to death in front of you,
oh my god,
will age you quick.
Yes.
So whatever childlike wonder she had in
yes.
her is gone forever now.
Yes.
But yeah, this episode especially, but I mean every episode of the show, but this episode especially is what pisses me off so much about the amount of comments that I constantly see about like, I'll never get over the casting of Bella Ramsey as Ellie, the worst casting of all time, this and that. And it's like, if you can't get past that she doesn't look like the video game Ellie, Pedro Pascal doesn't either. Nor does Tommy.
No.
Nor does Maria. Nor does anybody.
The importance
but
is...
she's the one who gets the negativity towards her because Joel is hot to women.
yeah.
And Ellie is not hot to men.
Right, and all those... Everyone's
right.
like, now I want
And that's
her.
all it is. If Bella Ramsey gave the exact same performance, but was more classically pretty, even if she didn't look like Ellie, they wouldn't bitch about her. They just wouldn't.
It's super lame.
And it is so fucking annoying. So anyway, I don't want to dwell on that too much, but I don't bring it up too much here. But it's like when we get the performance out of her that we got here,
yeah,
and you still think that this wasn't great casting for Ellie, and you cannot like match the chemistry that Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey have together on and off screen. If you've ever watched an interview with them, you are seeing very much this perfect father-daughter relationship.
Yeah, it just like clicks perfectly.
Yes.
And that's super important. I think that this whole episode is like a masterpiece and definitely like, one of the best of the show for me.
Yeah.
Because I feel like we get like so much of the essence of the show.
Yeah.
And I mean, I have no doubt that there will be other episodes. I have, ones to come, right? That I'm like looking forward to. Of course, there's moments in the story that I'm very excited for, but this one it just shows. It shows so much of their relationship, and I love that we jump from like the 15th to the 16th to the 17th birthday, and then leading up to the dance and after and everything. I think that the pacing and the way that the storytelling is in this episode is so good.
To tell it through birthdays.
Yes,
is a smart
because
way to do it.
Everything that Joel does, he does it for Ellie. Like, literally everything.
And birthdays are very important to him because
yes.
his daughter died on his birthday.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. So to him, a birthday with his daughter.
Yeah.
He got to spend his last birthday with his daughter, but he never got to see his daughter's next birthday.
Right.
And every year that Ellie ages is another year that Sarah never did.
Right, and it's also like I kept her alive another year. Like
right to him,
there's an accomplishment and a pride to it for sure.
Sarah never hits 15,
Right.
16, 17,
Yeah, those are
19.
huge.
These are big moments
Yeah.
in a young girl's life. So he finally gets to it's 25 years later, but he's finally getting these birthdays
Yeah.
that he never got with his biological daughter.
Yeah.
So we move into the 16th birthday. This is where, so this is the scene, right? This is the thing that I wanted to see. This is my favorite scene in the entire Last of Us story, is Joel's birthday present for Ellie at the museum. But they're walking. Joel has yet to figure out that his daughter is gay.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
something that they do here, which I thought was interesting, which I don't think is like prevalent in the game to my memory, is that Joel isn't okay with it.
He's just like, he's like that stereotypical dad that's like, you don't know what you like. You don't know.
I guess I'm jumping ahead because that's her 17th
Yeah, because
birthday,
this
but
happens. What happens here though is he's oblivious
he's
to it
very
here.
oblivious.
He's like, I see how you look at Jesse and all this
Right.
stuff, and she's just laughing because that's not the case at all, and she knows this. And very funny, like very teen comments where he's like, has anyone talked to you about the bird and the bees? And she's like,
Cocks and pussies.
dicks and vaginas.
Dicks and vaginas? Is that what it
Cocks
was?
and pussies is like really
That's
explicit.
more.
Yeah, but very funny because he's like, Jesus, like he doesn't think that she, knows those things, which,
Of course, every dad thinks that his daughter is
Yeah.
12, 5 years old forever.
Yeah. But yeah, he's just kind of like, he's oblivious. That's the best word for this birthday, at least.
Yeah.
And, yeah, and then obviously, I mean...
Yeah, we move into the
yeah.
museum. She's asking all these different questions, which is such a fun scene in the game. In the first season, I don't know if they address Ellie's inability to swim or not, because this is the scene in which we learn that Ellie has learned to swim,
Yeah.
where he pushes her off the cliff into the water and she starts swimming.
Right.
You're like, oh, I guess she finally learned how to swim. That would have been helpful in the first game. I wouldn't have had to grab so many damn pallets. But anyway, moving on from that, I don't think it doesn't matter, like, to the story, like, at all. It's just it's a device in the game,
Yeah.
so that she has to stay behind and you have to go solve puzzles.
Yeah.
That's really all it is. So there's no need for it. But for me, on the flip side of that, Abby's fear of heights
Yeah.
is important. For me anyway, and I really hope that that's addressed at some point. But I don't think we're going to see Abby again until next season. Well, actually, that's not true. We'll see her at the end of this
next
season,
episode.
but we'll talk about
Yeah.
that. In the next episode, we'll talk about that.
Yes.
But yeah, so they go into the museum, and she's guessing all these different random things. This is really funny in the game. She's like, "Is it a dinosaur?" And he's like, "No," and blah blah blah. And then she comes through the trees, and she's like, "It is a fucking dinosaur."
Yeah, so good.
Which is that
This-
gets me to laugh every time.
Scene also, like, I know that there's like all this stuff with Joel and Ellie, but also I feel like this is such an emotional thing for me because, like, it's kind of like, all these discoveries that humanity has made, like all the progress and all the just the knowledge that we had, and like in an apocalyptic world, like it's just lost.
Yeah.
And that's also very sad to me because it's like, they're going in and seeing the dinosaur,
right.
and it's like, we've learned so, like, now, right, in our world, like, we've learned so much about dinosaurs and, like, archaeology, and
Well, they're like archaeologists rediscovering
yeah,
this stuff
but
all
it's
over
like,
again.
it's just like, oh, like,
Yeah.
we had all of that, and there's because she is so inquisitive and you just curious, it's like, that to me is just kind of like, it's the human spirit, right? Like,
Yeah.
there's always going to be that in our nature, but I don't know, just I think it's very emotional and like sad to think about, like, obviously one day that's going to happen too, like everything will be lost to time eventually, but it just feels like premature because it's an apocalyptic, like, scenario.
Yeah.
So
then, yeah, we move into the museum. Joel has greased the wheels of this
so
solar
good.
system so that she can spin it, which is cute. It even seems like some light inside of it that
it's like seems like it's solar powered or something.
or no,
not
yeah,
the kinetic
energy.
their
So that was cool.
exchanges too, like when she's like she like
Yeah.
always looks over at him excited and he's like, somebody must have greased the wheels.
Oh,
And like
it's
just
such a father
the back and
daughter
forth
thing.
stuff. Yes. Or even when she goes to see the dinosaur and he's like, do you like it? And then she just like kind of squeals and runs off and he's like, yeah, she likes it. Like
it's so perfect.
It's
They
so
literally
good.
couldn't have done this better. And this
so
is
good.
this episode right here. I hate to reiterate it again. This should silence every hater. And if you want to worry about how Bella Ramsey looks to you, just look at the chemistry between them. Look at the love between them. Look at this episode. And shut the fuck up. Anyway, so then we move into the best scene in the entire Last of Us for me. The landing pod? Is this what this thing's called? I don't know what this thing's called. But yeah, he is like, hold on, you're gonna need a helmet, and he like gives her a rock. Now in the game, there's like a bunch of helmets around the outside, and she tries on. You can try on a bunch of different ones, very similar to the Left Behind DLC, where you try on all the different masks in the Halloween shop. But anyway, she picks the one that she likes. She breaks the glass, puts on the helmet. They get into the pod together, and then this right here, this whole scene is just word for word, shot for shot. And this is why I always tell people, any of the big moments, I feel like I'm a broken record at this point.
Yeah,
any of the big moments are always going to be done verbatim.
Yes, yeah.
They love the source material. It's not going to change. So every time somebody's like, oh, are they going to do this? Like, I remember I was just watching a reaction and someone was like, it was gamers. And it's the real rejects guys. They're the only ones that I care to watch the reactions anymore. But they when Dina and Ellie are in that area with the stalkers, and then Jesse comes in to save them, which we didn't notice, and it's purposefully done. That she thinks it's Joel for a second.
Yeah, we talked about that after we recorded our review.
But
That's great.
They said it was intentional, and it was supposed to be that way. And I just know it's not Joel, obviously.
Yeah, but that's great that she's kind of like,
she thinks it is.
Yeah.
Delusionally,
he always comes to save her. Yeah,
right.
So she's like, Joel's saving me. Like, yeah, of course.
Yeah. Anyway, they in that scene they were like, oh my God, is Dina gonna die right now? And I'm like, dude, are you guys out of your fucking minds? They're never changing anything that big. It's just not gonna happen.
Yeah.
They'll make additions. They'll make minor changes, but only to enrich the story. There's no fucking way.
I would be shocked. I would be shocked if they changed.
It's not even. I wouldn't even be
like
shocked because it's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
That's just not going to happen.
No,
Any of the big things, the way people die, who dies, when they die, that kind of stuff, they're not going to change it, period. And the big scenes, the big moments, and they know what scenes really resonate with people.
Yeah.
This scene is a big one.
Yeah.
As soon as we get into that pod, I knew every word was going to be the exact same. Every freaking thing about it was going to be identical.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because of course it is.
It's so perfect. I mean...
And it's perfect.
It's perfect, yes. Her getting in, having the helmet on, and him, like, giving her the tape. That whole sequence when she puts in her headphones and closes her eyes, and it's the launch, like, countdown thing.
Yeah.
So good. So good. The way that... Because that was kind of one of the things we wanted from the Left Behind episode with the, like, game where she, like, imagines the game.
Oh, yeah.
But this, we do get her, like, imagining, like, the shuttle, like, taking off and the light changing and everything. So beautiful and cool and just very, like, really highlights her like her youth and just her imagination, and like that's what kids do, and
it's because she's never going to be able to do these things.
yeah,
right?
Which is heartbreaking in and of itself, right? Because it's like she's like, I would be an astronaut, like I would go and pursue something like that, and like Joel just watching her and like the tear that runs down. Oh my god.
If she can't do basic triangulation,
I know.
She ain't gonna be an astronaut.
But she has this like adventure spirit in her, right? Like
she's got the balls to do it. There's no doubt about that.
You never know. If she was in like a different schooling, maybe she could do.
An astronaut is kind of like,
it's like the pinnacle of like human like existence.
Yeah.
Like you kind of have to be
brilliant and brave
and
bold
physically fit
yes.
and like you kind of have to be all the things perfect to go into space.
Sure.
Which it makes sense
Yes.
because like you're going into space.
Yeah.
Like come on. But that's a dream, right? That's what kids are like, I want to grow up and be an astronaut.
Of course.
There's a fascination with space. And even if you don't become an astronaut, maybe you become an astronomer or maybe you do something space related, right? Like
sure.
Anyway,
I'm just joking. Maybe Ellie
Ellie could have been something space related.
She'd probably be like an MMA fighter. she got the devil in her.
He's so proud of her, and he's like, he feels so content, and you can just really see all the emotions on his face in that scene, and oof.
But then, just like always, even though they're having the greatest time, even though everything seems to be perfect, there's always the lie that lingers.
Yeah.
And is always in the back of Ellie's mind. And even though she has this perfect moment, the "are you fucking kidding me" line, and just of like, and the way he looks, and he's so happy, and she's so happy. And then they do a little walking, and she stops, pauses, looks over, sees some fireflies.
Yep. And is
and
reminded.
Boom, she's pulled right out of that perfect moment, and she goes right back to doubt.
Yeah.
And bam, we skip to a year later. Joel comes home. He has a much better cake this time with her name spelled correctly.
He tries to surprise her.
And this is
a chocolate cake too.
This is a very that's true. This is a very classic scene of like a parent finding their daughter smoking weed in bed with someone. Oh
my gosh.
Getting a tattoo.
And he even says,
like the teenage thing.
He's like all at once. Because it is like everything.
Which is purposeful, right? Like in the writing. It's like, we're going to do it all at once because that's more dramatic.
And it sucks because it's like you want them to have a good birthday. Like you want another good one.
Yeah.
But, she's 17. And he barges right in. He knocks really hard. Then he just opens the door.
Immediately.
And then he's kicking her out, Kat.
Yeah.
And it's like, she's 17, by the way. And Kat's like, I'm 19. Like, I'm not.
Right.
How old do you think I am? Which, totally reasonable, of course. And you're just like, no. You want them to have a good day so bad. And Ellie is pissed about it, because this is where we get into the, like, Joel saying, essentially, like, you don't
know what you're doing.
You don't know what you're doing. Like, that's a girl. Like, why are you experimenting? I think is what he says. And she's like, it wasn't an experiment.
Right.
Because she knows herself at this point, obviously.
Oh, she's known all along.
She's known all along, right? Yeah. But, like, and, I would definitely, I won't even, like, he's not homophobic. Like, that's not what's happening here.
I don't know about that.
I don't think it's
exactly.
homophobia at all. I think it's he just isn't used to it. And I think that it's just not something that he, like, they don't talk about that kind of stuff. So he doesn't know what's going on. I think there's a bit of a, like, again, like a you don't know because you're too young to, like know things like that when she clearly isn't. And as we've said, she's sort of known all along. But
Joel being raised in Texas in the 80s, it would not surprise me in the slightest that he just thinks of that as wrong.
I mean, maybe.
He accepts it because, this is what happens. This is always what happens, right? There's parents who accept it because their kids finally show them, and it's like, well, if this it's always exposure, right? Is what I'm trying to
It is
get at.
exposure.
It's exposure
and
to things.
if you don't accept me, then you are not gonna like be around me.
Sure, because
right?
you don't
Like,
accept me for who I am.
Yes.
You know, I had a client years ago who was trans, and I did her father's hair, and he like straight up disowned her. It was very weird to do both of their hair, like at different times, of course, but he would always talk about his kids, and he would refer to her as a him, and he would like stop right there and then, and like their relationship was destroyed. Like, you know,
which is I mean, that's just like, I can't imagine any parent, like, if you actually love your kids and they tell you this is who I am, to just like, like I don't know, I just feel like that acceptance is just like, it comes part and parcel with like being a parent. But I mean, maybe you're right, maybe I'm just saying that there's not. I do think, I guess
you just want to think better.
Maybe I just
Joel.
am like, but this shows, like, this episode, like, he is such a broken person, and he is not, which we've said all along, like, he's not 100% a good guy. Like, he has a lot of major flaws. I think that he's, like, his heart is in the right place a lot of the time, but I don't know. It doesn't always make up for his actions. So, yeah, maybe I am just kind of, like, wishful thinking, wanting him. But I do really like that that's included here, because it adds like another layer of like, it's more than disagreement, but like more like schism between them, that then also like in the next time jump, like we do get more or no, not in the next one, but like in the, you know, towards the end we get his acceptance eventually, right? And that is really important, and we'll talk about that scene too.
Well, but this shows he's capable of change through love, right? Even if he is homophobic or has, even if whatever words you want to use, right? Maybe homophobic.
Just homophobic seems so like intense, because when I think homophobic, I think like they like hate gay people and think they're awful. But you're right, like growing up in Texas, like he could have that in his head a little bit, at least, like that it's unnatural.
My father and I had a conversation once that stuck with me. It really changed my perspective on a lot of things. He was raised in a house, in a family that taught him, because he was raised Christian and whatever, that in his time, especially in the 60s, that homophobia was a sin and wrong, and this
that homophobia
and that.
was a sin?
Or homophobia, homosexuality.
It is.
Sorry,
it is
yes,
a sin.
That is correct. And so he grew up with it, but like he never, like, it was always put on him. Yeah. And as he grew up and he became a hairdresser in the 80s and was around a lot of homosexual men, especially, he had a lot of exposure to it, and he changed his mind on it. Yeah. But because it's so ingrained in him for so long before he had that, kind of life-altering exposure. Yeah. He's like, I don't have a problem with them. I don't. But I am conditioned through my life up until a certain point that even to this day, if I see a guy and a guy kiss or something, like it just gives me that slightest bit of like it just ticks in his brain, like that's not right. That's like, because when it's pushed down there. But this is what people don't understand, is like when people can do the right thing, yeah, and push against their conditioning, yeah, that's so much more impressive than someone who was conditioned to the right thing all along. Right? Yeah, so when people are like, well, I'm so much better than you because I've been not homophobic my whole life. Yeah. And it's like, okay, but that's easy.
Yeah, right? I think that, yeah, people...
Pushing back against your, what I just said.
Yeah, your upbringing and like your conditioning. Yeah,
is much harder.
Yeah, I think people having the ability to change is super important.
It's very commendable.
It definitely, gets overlooked. But yeah, I like this element with Joel and Ellie, and she ends up like this is when she gets the idea that she wants to move into the garage, and he hears her in like the middle of the night trying to drag her freaking mattress out, and
such a teenage thing.
Such a teenage thing, and this is where you can really like, he's kind of getting that there's, their relationship isn't perfect.
Yeah.
But, not that it was ever perfect, but I think that there was a little bit of a daydream there for a couple years when things felt better.
Yeah.
But he handles it really well, where he's like, maybe it would be a good idea for you to have some space.
Yeah, let me fix it up.
And then it's like, let me get it fixed for you. So it's like, again, he does everything for Ellie. Like, he'll do anything to make her happy.
Yeah.
Because he cares about her so much. And then we jump 2 years, I think, right?
Well,
to 19.
Before then, he looks at her tattoo, accepts it. He's
right.
like, oh yeah, this is pretty good. And he's like, what's up with you and moths? And she talks about dreams. He goes and talks to Gail about it.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, is butterfly change, this and that? And she's like, no, moth usually means death.
She says butterfly is change and growth, and moths mean death. I love everything with Gail. I love how she's just like, everyone knows that she's a psychiatrist, and she's like, you can really tell that people kind of just walk up to her and like ask her questions about things, like her reaction of saying like, do I have like the doctor is in sign or whatever, but then she does end up talking to him, of course. But then when he hears that it means death, or like that's whatever the symbolism is, for me, I've always thought of moths, especially in the context of this show, is that moths are like drawn to light.
Yeah.
Which reminds me of the fireflies, which I think is obviously also intentional.
Yeah.
But yeah, Joel like trying to find out like, what does this mean, and he's trying to be really like, this is another like lead up to what we get later, where he is like, when he's looking at her tattoo and telling her that it looks good, like you said, you can really see him like trying, like he's like, I want to be supportive, like I don't want to push you away, like this looks good, and then the whole like moth thing and him being like, oh yeah, okay, like symbolic, I got it, like that's and you can also see Ellie
trying to be that hip dad.
Yes, but then you can also see Ellie being like, no, like you're not quite getting it. Like I know, I can see you trying, but it's not that.
There's also a little thing in her drawings in between the moths.
Yeah.
That says, you have a greater purpose.
Yeah.
Which is just something that lingers once again.
Yeah,
she
for
thinks
Ellie.
about like, what purpose do I serve? I was led to believe I was the savior of the human race, which plays very heavily into the Through the Valley song.
Yeah.
And now she lacks direction and purpose in her mind. And, I think her purpose was her death, the moth, brings new life. Mm-hmm. Right? And so with her, she feels like death is her only purpose now.
Yeah.
Then we move to 2 years later, to her 19th birthday, and this is all new stuff to us.
All new, yeah. She's sitting in the garage practicing to talk to him.
Yeah.
And you can tell she's put so much thought into it, because she's like, it kind of reminds me of like when Jesse tells her to like write stuff down.
Yeah.
Because she's like trying to be very like organized with her thoughts, and like she's like I want to like tell him and let him know that I've thought about all these things, and like I've found the inconsistencies.
So when she's reading out the questions, what I'm gathering from these questions is that, much like a liar who tells a big lie like this, when held to scrutiny and questions start getting asked, events need to be altered to some new version to fit whatever new details may be brought in as a counter argument.
Right.
Because when we see them in the car driving back, and in the game, same, because the scene's exactly the same. You know, he's like, oh, well, you know, they tested you, and actually they have a bunch of people there, and, you know, it wasn't going to work, and we're going to go back. Like, it is what it is. In this, she's like, oh, raiders came in and killed them.
Yeah.
And Marlene.
Yeah.
And blah, blah, blah. So there's new details here that we had never heard before.
Right.
Right? And these are alterations. Just like when you go to the police and they're interrogating you and you give them some version of the story and then they come back with new evidence and they're like, well, what about this? And you're like, oh, well, I forgot to mention.
Right.
Raiders came in and killed everybody. Did I not tell you that?
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Seems like a huge omission.
I think it's a good point.
From the story he told her in the backseat of that car.
Right. He doesn't,
so
he underestimates how smart she is, too.
I mean, Jesus, you'd have to be a moron.
I know, but it sucks. And then, you know, of course, he opens the door and is like, you can come on patrol. And they go on patrol together. And, you know, he says, like, I this is nice. Like, I wish we could do more stuff like this. Yeah. And she's just like, yeah. Like, her very non-committal, like, response and everything. Sad. Really sad. Because, you know, she's like, I'm going to talk to him today. Like, this is my day. I want to, like, confront him. Yeah. And boy, does she get to confront him.
So we had speculated that the Eugene thing... So we were, like... partially correct, sort of. So the guess was, or at least my guess was, is that because Eugene, I had a big, like, haha, epiphany type of moment where I was like, oh, right, I forgot, Eugene's a firefly, and maybe he's gonna know information, and Joel's gonna want to keep him quiet. But that didn't really sit well with me. I was like, I don't know, man. Would Joel really murder a guy to keep him quiet? That just seems a little too much of a character change for me. Yes, he would kill these people to keep Ellie alive, but would he kill a member of Jackson just to keep them quiet, to keep his lie secret? Yeah. Like, if he'd already been bitten and he was threatening him, maybe. And that's what I had guessed possibly could have happened. But... I knew that would create the rift, right? And that's where we were correct, but nothing else, right?
Yeah. Yeah, they get a call on the radio, you know, letting them know that Eugene and his partner, like, they need help. Yeah. And then the horse kind of goes by with his partner, like, being dragged along, and they find Eugene. And, you know, Ellie's trying to walk towards him, and Joel's very much like, no, like, are you clean? Right. And he shows that he got bit, like, right on his side. Yeah. And, which is just instantly like, you're fucked. Yeah. Like, that sucks. Right. And then, you know, he begs Joel to take him back outside the gate so that he can say goodbye to Gail, so he can say goodbye to his wife. And Joel's like, no, I can't do that. Like, you know, we can't do that. Yeah. We have rules. Like, I can't do it. And Ellie, like, kind of pleads with him, and she does. It's really cool to see this again, where she's like, hold out your hand. Yeah. And count slowly from 1 to 10. Right. Which is all, like, the test that, you know, she was given whenever Marlene gave her. Yeah. And, you know, she pleads with Joel, like, let's just take it back. Like, you know, and we'll tie him up or whatever. And Joel's like, all right, go get the horses. And that's the second when Ellie turns to leave, she, like, looks at Joel, and you know that she's like, hang on. Like, why am I leaving you alone with him? And Joel's like, promise. Yeah, he says, I promise. And this is a big, big moment, right? Huge. So he takes Eugene down to the water to give him some, like, beautiful thing to look at, you know, very Walking Dead, look at the flowers kind of moment. And Eugene, like, realizes in the moment, like, oh, fuck. Like, you're bringing me here for this. And Joel's like, don't turn around. Yeah. And, you know, it's like, why don't you tell me what you're going to tell, you know, what you're going to say to your wife, and I'll tell her. And then Eugene has a moment of, like,
no, like, you don't get it. It's like what she needs to tell me. I'm fucking scared here.
Right.
Like, I don't want to die. I want to hear my wife's voice.
Yeah,
You
I want
know,
to see
like,
her face.
I need to be at peace.
Right.
If I can see her again, I'll be okay. Which, man, this is fucked up. This is fucked up because I don't see any reason why he can't bring him back.
I agree.
And let, at least her talk to him from the top of the gate or through the door or whatever. Like, Joel can't shoot him before he gets in. Like, I get it. You can't let the infection get in, but the way that they wanted to set that up, man, Joel is just not thinking this through.
Yeah, it's like, okay, on one hand, there's a risk, right? Like, they have the rules, right? It is like you can't even risk it.
And Joel will never risk it.
And Joel doesn't want to risk it. He does not want to risk Ellie. He doesn't want to risk Tommy, and then obviously all these other people. And then also, on the other hand, it's like, how hard is it going to be to bring your husband before you and be like, okay, like, you guys, like, this is it. You have to say goodbye right now.
Well,
there's
sure,
also that
it's
aspect
unpredictable.
where I think,
right?
yes, because it's like...
Where she, like, runs to him.
Sure.
Yeah.
Does she freak out?
Yeah.
Does Eugene decide, never mind? Like, I don't want to get shot or whatever, right? Like,
right.
So many things could happen because of the emotions there. Yeah. And that's, I think, what Joel is thinking of. So it's like, yes, he could have totally taken him back. I think that he's trying to be responsible and, like, making these decisions, like, he makes the hard choices, right? That's what he thinks he did with Ellie and everything.
Right.
And he tells him, if
he's killed for less.
He's killed for less. But he's like, he tells him, if you love somebody, you can always see their face. And
he kind of has this beautiful moment
Eugene,
where he's like, I can see him. I can see her.
And then Joel kills him. And I thought that was all really great because I feel like in a lot of movies and shows you get somebody being like, I know I need to talk to somebody like one last time, and it is always kind of like they want to tell you something because he does say, I have things to tell her.
Yeah.
But then when he says, like, I want to hear her talk, I thought that was really interesting, and I've never really heard it that way before.
No, me neither.
Which was very sad because it is like, yeah, you would be really scared, and having somebody you love right there when you die, at least.
Yeah.
Is comforting because you're like, at least I'm like here with them when I'm dying. And then right at that second, Ellie comes down. Yeah,
the shot's done from a distance in silence, and all we see is the birds, which was a really cool way to do that, as opposed to hearing the gunshot. I feel like Ellie knew. And
yes,
she had to have. I think she knew. Because the gunshot would be very loud.
Very
and why else would there be a
yes.
gunshot? And she's kind of walking the horses down. She's not even rushing there.
Yeah.
Great performance by Joe Pantoliano. I think that's how you say his name. I could be wrong, but I knew he was going to be Eugene. We saw him in the trailer, and I knew that was going to be his character.
Yeah.
So cool to see him, and great performance for such a minor little role there. But man, what an impact, because this is what immediately solidifies in Ellie's mind. Joel's a fucking liar.
And he he's like, I'm sorry, and then they're dragging him back. They're dragging Eugene back, and he's like,
talk about
we're just
mirroring
the
way Joel's body is dragged back to Jackson is exactly the same.
Yeah, and he tells her, like, we're just gonna tell them, like, what she needs to know. And then they get there, and Gale comes out, and Joel says he was brave.
Yeah.
He said, I love you.
Yeah.
He did it himself.
Yeah.
And then Gale hugs him, like, is crying, and then Ellie is like, no, that is not what happened. And just the tension and the drama in that scene where she's like, he begged to come back.
Yeah.
And Joel shot him in the fucking head. And Joel's just like,
the betrayal.
What are you doing? And of course, gets slapped and everything. But it is like, you lied. And she says, you swore. That's the you swore.
Man.
The venom and the just like, yes, like the hatred there, the anger. And Joel's just like, I'm screwed. Like,
So this is great because, we wondered what had led to this. We were like, does Ellie know about Salt Lake City?
Yeah.
right? Coming up until that point, and it's like, no. I mean, we figured not, because, you know, the game has them on the porch, and we're talking about Salt Lake, and it's like, if you lie to me again, I'm gone, and all that. So you figured they're not going to change that stuff. But we didn't really know what the rift was. We just assumed that she felt like he was lying.
Right.
But to throw in this Eugene scene
man, it's
of like you're a fucking liar.
Like you do it
and
chronically.
This is, and, you know, coming from Gail herself, this is coming from a liar. You know, Ellie is a liar herself, which here we go with the generational cycle.
Who did she maybe learn some of that from?
Right.
Yeah.
So that, man, just the look he gives her when she rats him out.
Oh.
And then the look in Bella's eyes when she says, I swore, which we got in the trailer, but in context is even more powerful. Yeah. Once again, her performance is fucking
incredible.
Perfect and
just
flawless.
Incredible.
So.
Yeah. Yeah, and then we jump forward like
9 months.
Yeah, 9 months, which is to the dance.
Yeah.
Right? And so we get kind of a little bit more, which we were trying to figure out. You know, it's New Year's, and Joel's there with Tommy, and Tommy goes to leave to take his son back.
See you next year, the joke everyone says on New Year's.
Right, which is funny now, but we were trying to remember if that was Tommy's last words with Joel.
I think it is. I think it's the last time Joel and Tommy ever see each other. You know, obviously in the game they go out together on patrol.
But in the show.
And it's not. But in the show, I think Joel leaves early.
Yeah, you're right.
And he goes with
Dina.
Right. And I don't think that's the last time Tommy and Joel, when he says, I'll see you next year, it's like when he sees him next, he's dead.
Which is crazy. That hurts too. That's and you know, Tommy's wife, Maria is like your family. Like she tells him, like, you know, we're here for you.
And what does he call Tommy's kid?
Kiddo. Yeah. And he's Uncle Grumpy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then, you know, we get kind of Joel's perspective of the Seth moment, and you know, with everything else in context from this episode too, like we had both thought Joel's kind of angry at himself too, like he's sort of projecting, because Seth calls them
Dykes.
Yeah, and you know, he goes and shoves him, and there is a bit of like, yeah, maybe he is also like angry at himself because he had like a level of
he sees himself and Seth in that moment.
And like, also, I think
he's mad at himself.
He also is projecting his father a little bit too, because Seth's a cop, and there's that connection too. Yeah. Fantastic,
kinda
love that.
It's like an encapsulation
he sees him and
his dad
and he's like, no,
don't be like me. Don't be like him.
You know, this is such a hard scene too, because like when Ellie is like, "What's wrong with you?" and Joel's embarrassed, and you know, he was trying to stick up for her and all that. It just hurts. It hurts for, like, you hurt for both of them.
Yeah.
But then we get the porch scene after that.
Yeah,
which
so
is huge.
As expected, right? Like she did talk to him, as we all, you know, she lied once again to Gail, being like, "Yeah, I didn't go back, and you know, I regret it, and whatever." We know from the game that she does go back. Now this scene we don't get until much later in the game, very very late in the game. I don't think we get 100% of this scene though. I think there is a little snippet missing that will be in a later episode. But yeah, I mean, she comes up onto the porch. She goes at him, you know, lie to me again and I'm gone. And then when she says, like, you gave me the same look.
Yeah.
The same look that you gave me when you looked at me and you said, I swear. That just hits. And his acting and her acting, especially in this scene where he's like finally pushing through it and nodding his head while his tears are coming out.
Oh my god, he can't even talk. Like, he can't even... Before that, we have his, like, moment where he talks about Dina and her, and he's like, she's lucky to have you. And the way he's, like, looking at her when he's, like, asking, like, is she your girlfriend? And just, like, he's like trying so hard to
Yeah.
be supportive and
Totally
like open
accepts
with
it.
her. Yes, and it's like it's so heartbreaking. And then yeah, when she's like asking him and is like, tell me the truth, like I'm gonna give you one more chance,
Right.
and he's doing the nodding and like he can't even speak. It does remind me of when he has a moment with Gail where he
Yeah.
almost breaks, and it's the same
Yeah.
thing where he goes nonverbal and he like can't bring himself to say it.
Yeah.
Fantastic performance by Pedro. Like, what in the heck? That was like astounding.
Yeah, it would play very well accompanying that episode if you were to put them in linear order of actually seeing her walk past after the dance and her coming up on the porch and the talk with Gail earlier. And,
Yeah.
and she's like, what did you do? What did you do? I saved her.
Yeah.
You know, and he kind of sucks back the lie.
Right. But
and
now
finally
he
gives it here.
Yeah, he opens up and really like she like says like you're selfish.
Right.
She calls him selfish for not, giving her over because she does say like that was my purpose.
Yeah.
Which is so important to her, right? Is that
Yeah.
she wants to feel like she matters, and it's because she lost Riley. So it's like
Right.
there needs to be a reason for
Right.
this. And if it's that I could cure everybody,
Yeah.
right? So it's not just her, but it's everyone else that's died. And when she accuses him
Yeah. Go ahead.
of being selfish, and
Yeah.
he's like, he says that he loves her,
Yeah.
and that it's like something that she can't understand
Yeah.
because that is that parental, like, unconditional love that
Right.
he has.
And
Oh my gosh.
And this is where we get the title where he says, and I'll pay the price.
Yes.
Because in the price in his head, when he says that, you immediately think like Abby.
Right.
They're like, oh shit, he is going to pay
That's
the
the
price.
price.
Which, that is the ultimate price, right? But in his mind, the price is losing his daughter again.
Yeah, he thinks she's gonna
And-
never want to talk to him.
And in reality, the price is that she loses him,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
That's
And
the ultimate price. So he
he
basically
pays-
trades his life for hers. That's the way you need to look at the Abby scene, is she's just kind of coming to collect the soul that was
But
supposed.
even-
It's almost like Final
Yeah,
Destination,
but
right? It's
even
like,
sure,
Yeah.
yeah, but even more than that, he also kind of sells Ellie too, in a way, because now Ellie is revenge Ellie.
Yeah.
This is a totally different path than what he would have wanted for her.
no.
He would not have wanted her to go off like trying to avenge his death and
Well-
kill people on his behalf, even if he would have done it for her.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, though? Like that, he doesn't want her to be full of hate.
Well, he clearly parrots his father's words to him.
Yeah.
Just I hope
If
you
you-
do a little better than me.
Yeah.
So, and then she is just gonna go out and do what he wouldn't. I mean, like Tommy says, Joel's a protector.
Yeah.
He's not about revenge.
Yeah.
He wouldn't. I've been with him longer than you have. He'll go to any lengths to protect somebody.
Yeah.
But yeah, Ellie's out. On her revenge tour now.
Right. And she says, I don't think I can forgive you for this, but I want to try.
But I want to try.
And that's like, all he needs to hear. That's the like.
The look of it, like hope
Oh
in
my
his
God.
eyes, like he thinks she's gonna be gone. Like this is it. For him.
Right.
And when she says that, he perks right up.
It's like, wow,
And
I
it's like-
finally like faced my biggest fear, and I like still have a chance because at the end of the day, like they are family, and their bond is so deep that they can, like, she wants to try and move past it. It's not something that will ever go away for them.
Yeah.
But it is something that, like, in spite of that, she still wants to be in his life and wants him in her life.
The fact that he dies the very next day.
Oh my God. It's
Right
like
after
so
this,
cruel.
It feels like fate.
Yes.
In a way, because like it let him live just long enough to
Right.
admit his sins.
And to kind of get, like, he doesn't get forgiveness there,
No.
but he gets the hope of it. And that is, like, it's so important to him
Yeah.
that, like, Ellie could accept him.
Oh my God, yeah.
And
And yeah, we
Yeah.
move into the next moment where Ellie is returning to the theater.
Yeah.
I had forgot to mention previously that up on the marquee is the in-universe band Sick Habit. Cute little tie-in to the game. On the marquee, it's a different thing. It's a movie, I think. I forget what it is. But this is Sick Habit. Little Easter egg. Doesn't really matter. But that's that.
Yeah.
The price. Does Joel ever pay the price? Everybody does.
Yeah.
So, phenomenal episode.
Yeah, incredible episode.
Maybe, the best of the season. But I love them all. I mean, they're all just perfect.
I do too. This one is just, it has such a, they're all perfect. I just think, this one has a lot of, like I said earlier, like the essence of the show. And like, not even the essence, but just like, like everything, what it all leads up to, I guess.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So, next week, we saw some scenes from the next and final episode. Only one more episode.
That's so crazy.
And we'll be done with season 2, and the wait will commence. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not going to talk too many spoilers here. We didn't really talk about spoilers too much for the games in the future. I noticed some big moments.
Yeah, definitely some big moments in this episode coming up.
Yeah. I'm not going to talk too much about it, only because I think that I'm gonna keep this more spoiler free.
Yeah.
For the future of the game.
I think it's a good idea.
For now.
Yeah.
Yeah. In the next episode, we'll be talking spoilers because I want to compare it
right
to where Abby's story will be on day 1 through 3.
Right.
So, but we'll just say that you will be seeing Abby again by the end of this season. So, anyway, that's that.
Yeah.
And we'll see you in the comments.
See you there.
All right. Bye.
Bye.